What's up, hobby friends? Welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Or, in this case, this week, hobby bravely, maybe? Maybe that's what we're going to go with. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So we got a cool, fun topic today that's it's pretty, I guess, on the nose. It's pretty relevant right now because getting towards the end of the year, some stuff is it's coming out. Lots of new stuff's coming out, basically. So we're going to talk about some new armies, some new models and things like that you can kind of pick up, and how to kind of go about that. So we'll get to that. That's kind of the main topic. But for now, we're just going to kind of catch up on what we've been up to. So what you been up to, Brent, since we talked?
All right, I'm going to start it off this way. We're going to do a little sandwich here. So we're going to do a little GW sandwich.
Okay.
Start with something nice, then maybe move into something a little negative, and then we'll see where we go from there. That's how sandwiches work.
Oh, you mean like a
So we're going to start off with something nice?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, feedback sandwich. Yeah, you got to cushion the blow. Mm-hmm. Package that partially, that biting criticism right in between a little bit of positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
So, previously on Paint Bravely, the podcast, we've had a little odyssey about going down to Florida and buying plane tickets and, doing a real journey, a real trip to go try and buy some limited edition Games Workshop models.
Yeah.
And, as part of that epic journey, we were unsuccessful because Games Workshop didn't bring the models they said they were going to bring to that event, and we got a little bit salty about it, and it had a happy ending for one of us in that our friends Warpfire Minis sent me a copy of Holga Clefthorn. Super kind of them. And we've got another chapter in this story now. Games Workshop has removed this item from their list of limited edition minis, and it's now going to be up for sale to everyone. And despite my choice of wording throughout this little monologue here, this is a good thing. This never should have been limited edition in the first place. We should have just gone to Florida because we wanted to see Danny, not because we were chasing after some sort of really cool lady chaos warrior,
Yeah, it was probably really stupid on our part to really just go for the model, whatever.
I like to think we just went to go see our friend Danny.
Exactly. That's what we're going to say.
Lost really most of the audio and visual footage he took of us, but...
Yeah, that's true, which is a bummer. It's a huge bummer. I mean,
and so,
it's sad. I don't even know if we mentioned it, but he also lost other footage of his own.
Yeah.
Like, good stuff,
Yeah,
too.
When we went to that...
it was a horrible,
Yeah, when we went to that Warhammer tournament event, Danny actually pulled a lot of people aside, just random players at the tournament, and asked them, how do you feel about 3D printing? How does that fit into the hobby? How does that fit into competitive 40K, maybe? Mm-hmm. And I think he got some interesting, elucidating, spicy replies from a lot of tournament players. Mm-hmm. We'll never know because I think he lost the audio.
He did. He absolutely did. Yes.
So if any of the participants are listening to this now, thank you for participating. Danny did learn a lot from those interviews, but he's not going to make you famous in the way that you thought you might be. And
no,
I'm sure he's probably sorry and heartbroken for that.
Yeah, I think so. Because it was making out to be a pretty good video. But yeah, it's beside the point, right? Completely beside the point.
Yeah, we thought we were going to Florida to make some content and acquire some miniatures and see our friend Danny. But what really happened is that we went to go see our friend Danny, and friendship is a powerful thing, and no regrets.
Oh, absolutely.
But... we're getting a second bite of the apple here because apparently anyone who wants a Holga Clefthoof, Clefthorn, Helga Cleft something, just go on the old web store and order her up. And like I said, I am truly happy that is no longer a limited edition mini. Everyone who wants one should be able to get one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice.
There are not enough good models in the Slaves to Darkness line. So good to have another character. Yep.
It's true. I mean, even though they've had that kind of like small revitalization, there just needs to be more. Like those single characters like that are pretty cool, and you don't get very many of them. So it is nice that we'll be able to see that a little bit more. A kind of annoying for a lot of people, I imagine, buying or going to one of those tournaments, expecting a limited edition model and coming away with not a limited edition. It's kind of a bummer, because you're choosing to spend money on something that you're being told is hard to get or hard to acquire. So it's like, well, this is in my army. I went out of my way to go do this thing like we did, right? Only to find out the $35 model is for sale on the internet, Yeah.
Right. And I am quite sure that a lot of people did spend $100 on eBay for that limited edition model.
Yeah.
And, hey, you got it a few months before everybody else. So
that's true.
There you go. Those are the people who could be a little salty. So anyway, I think some people are probably salty about this news, but I hope most people are like, hey, great.
I mean, yeah,
cool
overall, it's like it's
wonderful,
good news,
so.
right? Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, continuing my little theme here, little sandwich. Good job putting that model up for sale. But this year I've been kind of down on Games Workshop as a company. They've done some stuff that's kind of made the community angry, kind of made me angry personally, and I don't know, just as a content creator, I felt less and less like giving them infinite free advertising. And so I've been trying to branch out a little bit and explore some of my other interests and try to make videos and content about that. So I do enjoy RPGs and D&D, and normally that's been kind of an offline thing for me, but I'm trying to see if I can work some Dungeons and Dragons content into the Goobertown Hobbies videos. So today I actually published a video about Frameworks, the new plastic line from WizKids.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the Sprue Minis. And the reception seemed pretty good. Like the video didn't bomb immediately, so maybe I'll keep making this D&D content.
I think that you've always been in a nice position of like borderline, it's not like you're full on Games Workshop, even if a majority of the models you have are, but you've done a lot of 3D printing stuff, and I feel like people are primed for like variety, So I think you've got that in the bag. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah. So kind of exploring the borders, and of course I want to make the videos that my audience wants to see, but at the same time, if I think some of my audience does want to see some RPG minis and other games, and also if there is the opportunity for me to introduce people to new things that they might like, hey, that's good too.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm sitting over here with this desk full of GW minis.
Right. So going into this sandwich here, I think later in the video we're gonna the topic we want to get to eventually is starting a new army, and we could pretend like we're talking about from a variety of companies, but we're talking about either Sigmar or 40K, I assume.
Yeah. Although it honestly still applies to probably Kings of War more than most things.
Mm-hmm.
As an alternative, or Conquest is a big one. And even Game of Thrones. Like there are still things, like there's still other games that apply to starting an army, right? Starting a full army that you play with on the table. And I think those games are becoming more prevalent, partially because of more recent exposure on popular YouTube channels. And people trying to kind of like mix it up with GW and see what else is out there. So, it applies to everything. Personally, I'm still pretty GW centric, so that's kind of my angle with stuff. So that's what I know. So that's kind of the information that I'm going to put out, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the beautiful thing about Games Workshop is it is the company that got most people into this type of hobby. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of us have that history there. And in addition, because it is so big, it is what a lot of the audience is looking for, and get them hooked on one thing, and then maybe maybe I'll help branch them out into some other interesting stuff they might like.
Yeah.
But I'm not going anywhere. I've got all of my unpainted armies behind me here, and we'll talk about that. I mean, I still gotta paint Holga Clefthorn. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was telling Brent earlier before we started recording, if I did end up getting that model, which was kind of the plan, then I was going to I don't know how you'd put it, not spite paint it, but paint it for fun in the same style of Goobertown yellow, as it were, and then send it to him, and just so anytime, hopefully, and this is my plan, is to put a lot of time into it. So hopefully, when anybody saw his arm, he'd be like, "Wow, that's a great Holga cleft foot horn, whatever." And then he'd be the only model that he didn't paint his whole army. I just thought that was really funny, and I never got that opportunity.
Just really catch attention, and then you can be like, I spent like an hour on that. Probably that I just dashed that off. Yeah.
Right.
You like it? Yeah, it's not bad. That would be a very kind gift, Casey. I don't know if the word is spite.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of showing off, backhanded gift.
Right, that's something like that. I mean, it's purely for comedic effect, really. So for me, it would be a comedy gift, like a comical thing to gift. While also being full of, like, I spent a lot of time on this.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful.
So I'm looking forward to painting Holga Clefthorn as well.
You can keep your Holga Clefthorn. I've got one.
I know you got one. That's what I'm saying. That was my plan.
Thanks to Warpfire Minis.
Yes.
Yeah. Who sell used and new Warhammer and Games Workshop figurines, and you know what? I bet they're gonna have some Holga Clefthorns. You could actually order one from Warpfire Minis.
I do plan on. They usually have the good deals on the eBays. So yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, I like it.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's pretty sweet. Is that your sandwich, or is there a middle bread section and then another layer?
I was going to talk a little bit more about some of the D&D stuff I've been working on, you know.
Sweet.
In my spite of staying away from free advertisement for GW for just a little while here. So, actually, by the time this podcast drops, the first episode of the Waterdeep season of 20-Sided Realms will be out on wherever you get your podcast. You can listen to that. Mm-hmm. First episode or two, I had a bad USB mic, but you just ignore that. You focus on the actual good and funny characters in that episode. It's all right. Yeah, it gets good. It gets good. But I am trying to paint the characters from that game. And so for that, maybe someday Frameworks will have enough of the proper kits to be able to make those characters. But for now, we have Hero Forge. And so this is the online web browser-based character customization tool thingy. And, they have options for once you build and dress up and pose your character, you can order like physical prints from them, or you can just buy the STL file and print it at home if you have that capability. And I think I talked last week or the week before about I did this, and then I went to go print them out, and I realized that they just didn't give me enough polygons on this character.
Yes.
And so, you can put in as many or as few polygons into a 3D render as you want. And I feel like, Titan Forge and Artisan Guild and some of these more modern boutiques that are selling STLs, it's like 40 megabytes. I think 40 megabytes is like the file size for...
That feels right for like a single character. Yeah. Like it's pretty hefty.
Infantry-sized character. Yeah. Maybe like 40 megabytes. Well, this file from Hero Forge is like 8 megabytes.
Oh, interesting.
And like the face actually has pretty good resolution. Like there's very small polygons on the face. And then certain bits of equipment or certain like small details have a lot of polygons. And then you just have like the belly of your character is just like from left to right is like 10 triangles across or something. It's just not enough. And
just Mario 64 all over the place.
Yeah, and so actually, I mean, there's a frustration there because printers are now good enough that some of that low resolution is actually visible. I mean, we're talking about printing off a 1-inch tall mini here, and I think a few years ago, you would never be able to tell how many polygons were in that figure. Like, just
That's a good point.
you would have no idea. But printers are getting pretty good.
Yeah.
And especially when I scaled up the minis a little bit so that I could paint a slightly larger version, I could definitely see that my character's belly was like a D20, like a soccer ball that was just
right.
Triangles and flat panels everywhere.
Maybe that's what they're going for. It's like all the center mass is just a D20. That's just what it is for every model. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I kind of see what they're doing. They have it's web-based. The character builder is web-based, so it's got to be lightweight in some ways. But when you actually go to buy the STL, it actually takes several hours, or actually a couple of them I bought took 3 days for them to process the file. And
really?
The ones that took a couple of days, that was over a weekend, and I don't know if for some weird tweak in my build that they actually needed a human to look at it. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, you build it in the web-based character builder, pose it and everything, and then it actually looks... The way it looks in the web browser looks like it's higher resolution than the STL they eventually send you. Which is mildly frustrating because maybe it's got like some weird smoothing effects going on in there. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway, you click buy STL, you wait a couple hours, or in that one case of Kavan's character, a couple of days. Then you get an email that says your STL's ready. You download it, and then it's 8 megabytes, and some of the key regions are way too chunky for modern printers. So
yeah,
I don't know, since there is that forging process or processing process, give me some more polygons. But I did find a way around this. So Mesh Mixer, or I asked my Discord community and they helped me find a way around this, but Mesh Mixer.
That's a good point. Actually, that's a good, yeah.
Always cite your work. Yeah.
Right. They're gonna be like, but I gave them that idea. Like, oh my goodness. Brent taking ideas from his Discord patrons, like, that's messed up.
I got it figured out. I solved the equation. No,
yeah.
But no, I was given the advice to download Mesh Mixer, which is freeware, and there's like a brush tool, like an art brush tool, that's just refine or something, and it just gives more polygons. You point at a triangle, and it just turns into like 20 triangles with a little bit of a curve to it. And so yeah, I just kind of was like brushing over the big flat areas on, I mean, especially like the tops of boots and bellies and chests and stuff like that. Just giving a little bit more of a curve. And when it came to areas that were like a hard cut, or like a strap running across a piece of armor, it's actually kind of stayed away from those areas because I didn't want to break the detail there.
Sure.
But for the big flat areas or the gently curving areas, yeah, just swipe that brush all over there. And some of my files went from 8 megabytes to like 100 megabytes, but that's fine. Modern computers, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Like, my SD card is fine. It's capable. Like, yeah. Or even the USB sticks that they give you with the printers. I've never checked what size those are, but they got to be pretty big.
I think they're normally like 4 gigabytes, but
even still, 4 gigabytes, like, at a minimum.
But I think actually it doesn't matter once you put it into the slicer file. I think once the computer does the slicing, it doesn't really matter the exact resolution of your starting model.
No.
It's just deciding, how many of the pixels on each layer are actually going to light up. That's all it is. So, so I found a way to make Hero Forge minis a bit better than they started out. Not perfect by any means, but better. That kind of solved the problem that was annoying me a little bit, and now I have my party, my D&D party.
Nice.
Looking good, all printed out. Small versions, big versions. I just got to paint them.
Paint them, pose them, or I guess not pose them, but put them somewhere.
Get some glamour shots. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Make those promotional materials for the 20-Sided Realms podcast water deep.
Yeah, you gotta have all your Instagrams lined up.
Yeah. And on Hero Forge, I mean, if you're sitting at your computer and not doing much while you're listening to us, you actually go on Hero Forge. It actually is a lot of fun. It's a little kind of like toy doll dressing up. Is that the thing people do? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, right?
It's a character creator. You dress them up.
It's a character creator. Yeah.
Yeah, you can change the colors, the way they appear on the website. So you can.
I didn't know that.
It's actually a pretty cool way to test out color schemes if that's what you want to do.
It's a good call, yeah.
And I mean, there actually is a lot of customization there. I was able to get a couple of really fun poses, and able to get the characters to look basically the way that the players described their characters as looking. And then meanwhile, I said, also with the last week, I was playing around with those Frameworks minis, which are, plastic sprues for D&D minis, and you can customize like what weapons those characters have, but you can't customize their armor or anything. They're, it's one set of legs and one torso. There's not a lot of customization there. So in some ways, Hero Forge is actually pretty sweet, the amount of work you can do to make the character that you're trying to make. So, hey, pluses and minuses to everything. Kind of cool to have an option for making custom characters. And I am leaning more towards that Hero Forge characters do have souls. That was the question I was kind of thinking about, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Trying to answer
dealing
that
with some annoyances, but I'm getting there. Yeah,
that's good.
So, what do you got for us today, Casey?
I got a few different things. I finished up that Troggoth Hag. Spent a lot of time on that model, like a lot of time. Feel pretty good about it too. And I even went so far as to do a resin pour on it, which, looking back, thinking about it now, I was like, that's the worst thing I could have done. Because it's like, if I had screwed that up, it's like...
You didn't screw it up, though.
I didn't screw it up. I got lucky. I feel like I got lucky. I didn't screw it up. So
are her feet entirely submerged now?
They're a little bit. So it's kind of like the toes are dipped in. So it's like, I guess I could get around that somehow, but like if I absolutely had to take her off the base, she wouldn't come off the base. Like it is stuck. So, it was kind of like, in hindsight, it was a really stupid idea, considering I've done some like kind of light resin pours that have never worked out. So for not having succeeded yet, or up until, with doing resin, I could have ruined that model.
That was a very brave thing you did, Casey.
Yeah, resin bravely. Man, all these t-shirt ideas just keep like coming by. I got all these ideas.
That's right.
Yeah, so like it actually turned out really well, and I'm pretty happy with it. The video, on the other hand, like, of course, like anything that you put a lot of effort into on YouTube, just nobody watches. So yeah, it's like sitting at the bottom of the list, not doing anything. Like, nobody is clicking on this video, so it's kind of a bummer. I was pretty happy with it. So
yeah, maybe while you're playing around over there on Hero Quest, Hero Forge, whatever.
Yeah.
Hero Quest is different.
It's different.
Actually,
different.
also
Just
currently
came out.
relevant. But
Yeah.
while you're just kind of messing around, killing time, turn on Casey's video about that troll hag. If you haven't watched,
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, please go watch my video. It was exciting.
It'll make his day just one click better, and it is actually definitely one of his better paint jobs. The model actually looks really sweet, so it is worth checking out.
Thanks.
And yeah, Casey, don't feel bad about those clicks. That really is a great looking model, and it's no way to live, man. It's no way to live.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not, and we've had that discussion plenty of times. Like, you know, and things have been going great, right? Like, I've been getting good views and lots of good interaction and all this great stuff. But of course, it's like it just seems whenever you really try on a video and you're like, I'm gonna make this good, I'm gonna take my time. It's like people are just like, oh no, he worked on this. Stay away from it. So I don't know what it is about that, but it seems to just be like a weird thing that happens in the YouTube world. Yeah. But
right.
I'm happy with it, you know, and it's all good.
You should be. The mini looks great, and we've talked about portfolios before, but that's a one to get some nice glamour shots of and put those in your back pocket and maybe start an Instagram page. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to put those up on my Instagram. Yeah. My Insta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those will be going up pretty soon. Hopefully. I am so behind on putting anything up on my Instagram though. Like, I've got lots of pictures of lots of models that I've just never bothered putting up on there. And I don't know why. And at this point it's like, well, I don't want to just like load the system up, you know. I got an hour to kill. I upload like 20 different pictures, you know. Like that's going to overload it. I can't do that. So now I'm like, every so often I'll just
I feel like there are bots you can get to do this for you.
I could. Yes. I could do that.
Yeah. Or you can just make yourself a folder of Instagram files, and then try to remember to mine that every couple of days.
That's what it is. It's I gotta like set a reminder or something because I just don't even think about it. It's like I'll go to Instagram to look stuff up and to like look at other people's things, and then literally just never visit my own page or click anything to post. And it's stupid. I should. I even tell people like, hey, you want to see all the stuff in still photos that I painted on the channel? Go to the Instagram. That's a lie. It's a flat out lie. Yeah.
The only Instagram page I ever unfollowed was because they just posted too often.
Exactly. I don't want to be that guy.
It was Siege Studios.
It was Siege Studios.
Guys,
they post a lot.
Holy crap. Two awesome paint jobs a day, and then just call it quits after that.
Yeah, call it quits. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Two Siege Studios, 2 awesome paint jobs a day. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it. If I'm scrolling through and it's all Siege Studios, that's when you become the only person I unfollow. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, there is good stuff, but
that's the problem. It's
only
good.
so many pictures of that method of power swords I want to look at, you know? It's a good method. It's a good method.
Yeah. I don't need 40 examples in 10 minutes, though. Yeah.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, Casey, put your troll on Instagram. And you, listener, you've done something recently you're proud of. Don't lie to me. You know you've done something you're proud of. Throw it up on Instagram.
You should.
Tag Casey so that he remembers to log into Instagram sometimes. And
dude, that's an elf. I get tagged constantly. That doesn't help at all. I'm just like, oh no, another notification. I got to stay away from there. People are trying to talk to me.
Yeah, Casey is on West Coast time in the United States.
That's true.
He's on like LA time. So tag him just when he's really likely to be asleep, just sound asleep.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just let that
break that REM sleep that he won't ever get back.
Yeah, exactly.
Just unrecoverable.
It's wonderful. Oh man. That's all I need.
There are lots of good reasons to share your work with the world.
Right, to ruin my life. So.
Very, very rewarding reasons to get your artwork out there.
Yep. Yeah. Please don't do that.
I'm just trying to cheer you up a little bit, Casey. You had a bad day with your hag video, but you had a great week painting that beauty. So.
Oh, I did. And I'm not so disappointed in it. I mean, the video went up 4 days ago and it's like, dead in the water. But that's fine. That's totally fine. What I am excited about is now that I've done the resin pour and I kind of like, okay, I got this, right? Like I got this. I can do this again and I can probably do it better. I got this like really cool idea to do a diorama with these printed models that I got or that I printed. And I've been thinking about it for a while now. And I think I might have talked about it like 6 months ago of these like mushroom people, like spore fungusy, like zombies. But it's this whole thing from, was it Hero Forge? Not Hero Forge. We were just talking about that. I don't know. Artisans Guild or somewhere that put them out. What are those 3D printing people? It's Artisan Guild. And then there's like the other one.
I don't remember who had the mushroom set. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's the other one. The bigger one. I don't know. They're around. It's one of the larger companies.
Titan Forge.
There it is.
Titan Forge Games.
Titan Forge. That's what I'm thinking of. Titan Forge. Yeah. But they had this.
There was
this
like
cool
a 6 month period where I forgot to download my files, so I might have missed the mushroom people.
Well, now that they have everything on My Mini Factory, like they just dumping them on there, you don't have to download them. Like they're just in a nice folder already. It's all put together. So like I haven't downloaded anything for 6 months, but they're all in one place, so I could get them. I like that idea. So it's better. It's having it online. Otherwise, I gotta like download it, put it in my Dropbox, and then that just fills up, and it's like I can't download all this crap. Like I just put in an extra like 6 terabytes into my computer, like a couple weeks ago, or a week ago.
40 megabytes per mushroom person. That does add up after a while.
It absolutely does, considering that the like the smallest size for a Titan Forge package is like, what is it? It's like 4 gigs.
I can't remember which companies are bigger, but yes, some of the companies are like 10 gigabytes a month.
Yeah, a month that you're filling up space with. That's a lot. Yeah,
it is. It really is. and I'm just going through and I'm kind of deleting the Total War games that I don't use as often.
Well, and new ones coming out, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look, we'll do an episode on Total War Warhammer 3 if we can get Casey into it.
I mean, I think we can. I've been getting into video games a little bit more lately. It's been a couple years. I've literally not picked up I've had PlayStation forever, right? And I haven't even seen a PlayStation 5. Like I couldn't even tell you how big one is, right? My PS4 has been sitting for like 2 years. Just I don't know, painting models and then doing the channel. It's like it's been cut off for me somehow, which is weird because I put a lot of time into some video games over the years, like a lot of time. So,
hey, interests come and go, but I think it's going to be a big day when we finally complete that trilogy of Warhammer Total War games.
I mean, it looks good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Like, seeing the cutscenes that they were putting out, the previews, like, I was pretty excited for that. So, yeah,
there's been a lot of bad Warhammer video games over the years. Just the vast majority of them have been pretty bad, but
it's true.
I gotta say the Total War. I mean, I like the Total War games anyway, but
that's the secret,
Warhammer
right?
Total War really does feel like Warhammer Fantasy was supposed to feel.
Right,
just
like
the blocks of troops, the rank and flank kind of stuff. Except the computer is doing all of the math for you, and you're not arguing about rulers with your friends.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to hang out with your friends if you don't want to. You just wake up at 3 a.m. because you can't sleep, and you get back in there, get a few more turns in. Yeah.
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 That sounds good. I like that. But I am looking forward to that. I have been playing I've been playing a lot of like simulation games though recently. So like racing sims and space sims. Like I went out of my way and bought like a racing sim wheel and pedals, and then I bought a chair, like a racing chair, and then I bought some other stuff that attaches to that chair. And now I got like a whole cockpit, and yeah, it's been a whole thing. And like maybe I've played like a few hours. I don't know. It's like a weird gear acquisition syndrome deal with like this stuff. And now I'm looking at like I've actually been playing Star Citizen, which is a space sim, kind of. We can talk about that if you want, but I'm looking at like dual joysticks for space flight and like getting into this stuff.
Well, I mean, you could have been putting all this equipment into your van, Could have just been souping up your van.
So the sad thing about the van is that it's been broken down for like a month. And
you could have repaired your van.
Okay, this is like the 5th time it's broken down, and I'm mad at it right now. So I'm gonna go buy a fake steering wheel and drive a fake car that goes. Okay. Maybe that's what it stems from. I don't know, but like, I don't know. I've just been getting into it. And it's been fun, and I've been kind of like getting back into video games again. So I think Total War 3 is probably one of those that if there's some multiplayer, I assume there's multiplayer in some capacity. Okay, so maybe we can do something. That'd be fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a silly thing to stream.
That would be a silly thing.
Us just playing battles against each other. That could be fun.
Yeah. Nobody'd want to see that, would they?
We'll think about it. The
game's not out yet.
Yeah, you said you were playing Star Citizen.
Yeah, have you heard about this? You seen this?
I've been aware of Star Citizen for 8 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And
this is like
for 6 of those, people have been, claiming it's playable, but the type of people who claim that are like liars, I guess. So
yeah.
But now 8 years into alpha here, you're telling me it's playable, huh, Casey?
I mean, yeah, it's playable enough, like, to have a good time. I mean, okay. that's a game, right? That's kind of the point of it. There's no single player experience, if you will. It's just kind of
okay. So for those of you not in the know, the creator of like Wing Commander or something.
Yeah, Wing Commander.
Started a crowdfunding campaign. I think it started on Kickstarter, or Kickstarter was involved at some point.
And it was like 2012.
Yeah, it ballooned into like the biggest crowd-funded project of all time.
Yeah. I hope we can still hear that in the end.
And hopefully the mic picked that up.
That was good.
Have a little cat battle over there.
Yes.
They're fighting on top of Albert's fish tank.
Ooh.
And
rest in peace.
Now, completely separately, I built them a shelf on top of Albert's fish tank for the cats to be on, because I know that they were so they don't just sit on top of the glass.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've engineered safety into this whole situation, but
I've seen that too many times. They fall right through.
But Star Citizen is this just massively crowdfunded campaign for a high quality video game about flying around in your spaceships in space, but also you can get out of your spaceships, and it's an MMO, but also it's a joystick fighter simulation.
It's a really good way to
How's that coming?
Like, it's all of those things and none of those things. Like,
okay,
it's trying to be essentially. I think the best explanation I've heard is it's a space simulator trying to be an MMO, and that's essentially as far as you get. Like,
okay,
and I don't know. Like, okay, the other day I logged on, right? Woke up out of my bed, got up, went down to the spaceport, picked up my ship, got everything all ready. I even bought a new spacesuit. It's great. Like, went up, took off, went into the stars, kind of like picked a place. I was like, okay, well, maybe, I want to make some money, right? I don't have very much money. I just started. I want to go do this thing. Okay, I got to go, like, disable these pirate antennas or something, and so they're like blocking the signal from some mining colony or whatever the case is. So they're like, oh, but you need this, like, comlink jammer majigger thing. So I'm like, cool, all right, I'll go fly to this place because they say they got one for me. If I don't have one, I don't have one because it costs money, which I don't have. I fly to this place. It's in this, like, abandoned shop because it's kind of like an illegal type of item. Because you can get, like, picked up, and put in jail in this game if you break the law, essentially. So you got to kind of hide these things, which is a cool aspect. So I find it and I pick it up and I'm kind of messing around, right? And I'm just, like, jumping around on this moon and like, I equip this item and then I accidentally, like, launch it into the atmosphere. I just huck it right across the moon. And I didn't mean to. It was like I equipped it in my hand. And I didn't know if I, like, shot the trigger or did the whatever, it would just throw it. So, okay. If you pick up an item and you equip it and you can throw it and it would do something, presumably, to someone else if you needed to, like a weapon of opportunity. But that was the thing that I needed to do the thing. And it was like, okay, well, that sucks. Now I threw away the thing that they gave me for free and I got to go buy it. But I don't really have any money. So it's like, I don't know. It's just this kind of, like, built-in adventure that ends up happening. And then things end up happening to you because space is dangerous, right? So it turns out I was, like, overexerting myself and I was wearing a cheap suit that didn't have any protection against the cold of space. And I ended up freezing to death about 5 meters from my ship on that moon. Yeah. And when you die, you lose all your stuff.
Okay.
So I woke back up in my bed. I had to buy another spacesuit, spending more of the money I really didn't have to find this thing, because now I got to figure out how to get another one. I fly back to the planet to see if I can recover my stuff. Somebody else had landed there and stolen my stuff. So I couldn't recover that. It ended up basically, I ran out of money and I didn't know what else to do. And I was just running around naked with a hospital gown on for, like, an hour. So it's playable.
It's playable.
It's playable. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a unique experience that I haven't ever actually had before, as far as, like, a game goes. So alpha or not, like, if it's busted, if it's a scam, whatever it is, it's a playable game. And I had a weirdly good time, like, not doing almost anything, like, not really accomplishing anything, I guess.
Well, that's interesting. Kind of like just a weird sandbox, which is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
What it was, like, hyped up to be.
But, like, the fact that somebody landed on that moon and stole my stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, I could have waited around because their ship was there. But I'm like, I don't have anything. I don't have any more weapons because they still were stolen. But, like, I could have waited around and, like, tried to punch the guy to death and steal him back. But he probably would have just shot me and stolen my ship or something. So it's like, you can do a lot of cool stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what's so compelling about that. Like, it just is. If you haven't tried it, like, yeah, I recommend trying it. There's also some really cool models of the ships on Thingiverse that you can download, print, and paint. So tying that back into miniatures.
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, I remember that one of the reasons that people spent so much money crowdfunding this game was to get the in-game ships, and some of them looked cool, and that was what helped sell the game, really.
The ship designs are exceptional. Like, they're very cool.
Hey, I think it'd be cool if you loaded up your printer, printed off your favorite ship, and commemorated that stupid day you had on that moon. Yeah.
Yeah. There have been other things too, like flying a non-cargo ship to pick up cargo and not realizing that it was, like, actual physical cargo that I had to go get. It doesn't fit in my ship, so I was trying to, like, throw it into my cockpit, just kind of huck it up in there. It didn't work. Like, I had to leave it there. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, good. I'm glad you're taking a little break from painting lady trolls, and you'll get back to it though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Otherwise, I've been painting. I painted some stuff this week. Like, I've been working on some Stormcast models.
Okay.
Trying to figure out like a good video to make, and I've got all these Stormcast models sitting around, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to just paint some up, and I've kind of come to the conclusion of a few different things. The new Stormcast models are essentially like Primaris models, just far superior to the originals, in my opinion. And the old Sigmarines are kind of hard to paint. And they shouldn't be. Like, you look at them and you go, okay, there's a couple of shoulder pads and some armor and some trim. But I don't know what it is about these models, but I just have a stupidly hard time trying to paint them. And I don't know if it's like some kind of weird perfectionism or trying to get things to look a certain way, but like I have a really difficult time like trying to paint these. And like I don't know if it's because I started with painting these when I came back into the hobby, like, and they just kind of threw me off. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a real thing though. Like, some models just are easier or harder to paint than you might think they should be.
Well, yeah, that's true enough. I mean, I've certainly run into that several times of like, you get to something you think is going to be kind of difficult, and you're like, oh, that was actually really, really fun to paint. Nice. It like just went smoothly. Like, you wouldn't think that. But that's kind of how I'm looking at these Stormcast. I painted the best looking Stormcast model. If you remember, I did a video about that, and it was the Lady Stormcast, the Sequitur Prime.
Oh yeah, her.
With the mace over her shoulder and the sweet like side cut haircut thing. And like that model was pretty easy to paint. That wasn't too bad. But it also is kind of this like middle history for Stormcast, where the sculpt, like the way they were sculpting a little bit differently and kind of moving it into a new direction. And now with these new ones, I painted one and it was like, wow, this is actually great. Like the paint goes on really nicely and the detail fills out really nicely. Like these were made for painting, where I think the original ones were made because it was the new thing. Like not necessarily to be good at painting it,
Yeah, there's some magic when there's, like recesses in all the right places to take wash and black lining, and then there's just the perfect amount of easy to edge highlight edges where they need to be, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that they have that Primaris effect, at least. If not being just a straight up replacement. So, I don't know, I'm looking forward to kind of getting into that a little more. And I'm deciding right now whether or not I want to go kind of try hard and paint an army that looks like pretty sweet, or if I want to kind of go like, themey and paint it like stone or something.
You've already done that.
I know.
Yeah, so we can start to get into the main topic here if you want, but we're talking about starting armies, strategizing, acquiring.
Yeah, like what does it take to start a new army? What are the things you got to think about? What are the things that you might want to consider, or maybe things you haven't considered about starting a new army? And the reason that we want to do this topic, partially because the new Games Workshop boxes were announced as of the day of recording. So there's Christmas boxes, which you can check out on their website. We're not really going to go through those. Yeah, that's kind of why I was into this. I was thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm kind of in that mode of, what kind of army should I acquire? Like, do I want to buy the new Stormcast? Do I want to buy them used, the new ones used, or the old ones new or used, or whatever? So we can kind of go down the list and start from the top, I guess, as we would say.
So we're also getting a little bit close to 2022 here, and of course Games Workshop has the the hallmark holiday of New Year, New Army. They've got the hallmark holiday of Orktober to get you to buy orcs, and then at the start of the new year, they just tell you, you know what, buy a new army.
It's true.
Classic marketing scheme, but there will be a lot of hashtags floating around in January about New Year, New Army, and Eddie Eccles will be, just rubbing his hands together with what he's created out of nothing, and yeah.
I didn't realize that was them. I just thought that was a thing that people did.
No, it's Mother's Day, it's Father's Day, it's Valentine's Day.
Well, no, but did GW come up with that, or like is that a
marketing
thing?
Opportunity?
Well, yeah, of course it is. Like I would take advantage of that all day. Like Orktober, I do Orktober every year. Like
call your mother on Mother's Day, but don't give Hallmark too much money. Like, yeah.
Right. No, there are cards at the dollar store that are just as good as those Hallmark cards. I promise.
We should talk about the dollar store. No.
That should be an episode at some point. I think we've talked about it a lot.
we always talk about the dollar store.
That's legit how we started this podcast, with buying crap at the dollar store and the thrift store. Yeah. Don't start your army at the dollar store. That's a terrible idea. What you should do, if I could find the list.
We're talking about starting a new army. So if the time has come for you and the itch is there and it's going to happen, well, let's embrace it. We'll talk about how to do it right, how to think these things through.
Yeah. So
don't do it just because the Warcom community team posted New Year, New Army, hashtag New Year, New Army.
I mean, because a new army could just be the one that you haven't touched in your closet.
That's right.
Pull that out and start on it. Yeah.
Be nice, Casey. Be nice. All right.
I have several of those armies. Okay, I can say what I want. Like, I am planning on eventually making some kind of video specifically to force myself to finish certain armies, because I have I don't know, 4, 5 maybe armies that are literally 3/4 done, and then the rest are either just not even built or they're just primed. They're just sitting there waiting, and I'm just I get to that point, I'm just meh, let's move on to the next one. I need to commit.
Well, you like the acquisition stage.
I mean, I do. I think we all do.
You do.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why people put up with Star Citizen. It's the acquisition of getting all the things and then being all right, I'll sit here and do nothing.
It's a big part of any hobby.
Yeah. It's true. All right. So there are a couple of different ways that you can go, obviously, when starting a new army. And we're not really going to talk about which army you should pick, per se. I think if you're into Games Workshop specifically, you're probably kind of going to know what you want. Maybe you look at some battle reports or some painting tutorials, or read some of the books to see what you're into as far as what kind of army you like. We're kind of talking about the actual purchasing aspect of it, the actual buying of it. So there's a couple ways you can go. You can buy an army brand new in a box, or you can find used models. And like we mentioned, Warpfire, they have a good used store. They take in a lot of models, and that's a thing you can do. So you can look at eBay or somewhere like that. So as far as which ways to go, why don't we start with a new army? So what are the kinds of things that we can look at, I guess, as far as starting an army? Just base level.
Right. So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking of this from the other way.
Them cats are just getting into everything. It's funny because we talked about that before we hit record. They were going kind of nuts. And we're like, well, maybe we should move them. Maybe we should do something with it. No, I want all the cat noises in this podcast. I think it's freaking hilarious. And I think it adds to this podcast. I think it makes it a thing, makes it real. Yeah.
All right. I threw couple of blankets over Snuffles. It'll take her a little while to burrow out. Uh-oh, that was quick.
Okay. That was quick. Just going after the fish again. Great.
Sometimes with cats, though, you just need to break their chain of concentration. Like, she
You
was
just gotta
really
throw a water
excited
bottle
about,
at them.
like, playing around with this piece of paper on the floor over here.
Yeah.
And I took one of them away from her, and then she found another one. But then I just took her across the room, threw a bunch of blankets over her. Then she's like, hey, why did it get dark? I gotta crawl out of here.
You gotta figure something out.
Now she's looking around. She's looking a little bit, like, confused. I think she's forgotten all about the paper.
Probably.
She's looking under the blankets again, like trying to figure out what happened there. I think we're good.
Perfect.
So, new versus used Warhammer or otherwise.
You
armies.
said you were thinking about this like backwards or a little differently.
Look, I'm sitting here. I'm talking to eBay Miniature Rescues. I'm sitting in front of a couple of shelves full of used armies behind me here.
Okay.
My preference is used. It's obviously cheaper. You know, reduce, reuse, recycle. Give those models a second life. So you know, if you are trying to get 2,000 points of some army, the cheapest way to do it is to buy them used off of somebody.
That's true.
But and we'll definitely talk about how to do that. That is a favorite topic of ours. But there are times when new is the answer. Yeah. And so part of that is just availability. So I actually think like you and I, we are pretty likely to, we're likely to check eBay first. And then if we don't find what we're looking, then we'll see what the deals are on new product, new models.
That's true. I mean, prime example, when we were in Florida, the Dominion box, I believe it was the Dominion box, went up for pre-order. And I looked on eBay, and usually there's 30%, 40% off on eBay, like a pretty significant discount. But because of the FOMO and everything else, people were basically just selling them at full retail. So on the GW site, after you do their little thing and stand in fake line and, you know, get to the page where you can buy it, it's like, it's the same price. It was the same price. So I ended up buying it brand new from GW, which I don't usually do. And they gave me like a little box with little coins in it, which I don't really understand. I think they're some kind of markers. I don't know, whatever. But that's probably one of the only times I think that, at least in recent memory, that I bought something brand new that wasn't off of eBay new, because it was the same price and it didn't really matter. Still with the cats.
Hey, you were in charge of filling time.
I did fill time. Now you're back. I'm just wondering what's going on.
Yes.
Are they? I could see it. I could see your cat. I could see it. Those houses are just going to be slowly knocked off the back, just pawed off the back of that. Yeah. You're going to hear a crash of resin and go, my very expensive house. Oh, no.
The cats have not yet knocked off any of the tabletop world resin buildings.
That's good. That's good news.
Not
I'd be a little
yet.
afraid of that. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, so I was telling the good people that I bought that box new because of availability and because the price wasn't any different on eBay as it was from their store, which is good, I guess. I don't know, seemed fine. I got a little extra freebie from GW, which is weird. But still, like, paying that extra amount kind of feels bad, especially now looking back on it. You know, letting that kind of FOMO get to me a little bit, thinking there might not be enough, or if that was going to be like Indomitus, you know, that whole situation. It turned out not to be at all. There are plenty of Dominion boxes still out there. And you can buy either side of that box army-wise for like $50. So, one point to the Stormcast army that I was talking about wanting to build, that's a good route to go. looking at holiday boxes or army boxes, looking at one half of those and just picking the one that you want and buying that straight instead of the whole box.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would be in the used category. But what other types of newness?
It sounded like there's a couple of types of used. There's the actually somebody had this as an army, or somebody partially built this army. There's the out-of-box used, the I guess parted out used. There's the scalped or possibly being sold kind of retail on eBay used, and then there's new. And I think we kind of look at things in that order. You and I think that's our order of preferences.
Yeah.
Ideally, an estate sale, like that is the whale you're looking for. The estate sale, the family passing along some nerd's life possessions for a reasonable price, and then you've got the nerd just looking to move on to a different army, move this out, get something else in. And that'll often be, built and actually used models.
Yeah.
And then you got your various bits dealers that are just breaking open boxes and selling one half to this person, one half to that person, or one unit here, one unit there, one sprue here, one sprue there.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, you've got your 15% off retailers. Then you've got the GW web store in a 2-month wait, and or you've got the trip to your local GW store.
Yeah, that's the hard one to do when you're in the GW store and you're like, oh my God, like I can't bring myself to buy anything here. That's hard. That's really hard.
That's an interesting point, because if you go to the GW store, that's full price.
It's straight up full. Like a codex is like $50.
Including any local taxes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. That's.
And you're
that's full price. You have admitted defeat that you cannot find this cheaper.
That's true. And I've been there. I've definitely been there, and I have purchased things from the store because I'm like, look, I've got this project I'm working on. Like I need to find these models. Like, this is what I had in mind, and I don't want to compromise that idea. So, you know what? Guess what? GW Store has it. I'm buying it.
Yeah.
So it is that, availability, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Availability, the last resort, there is always the option of buying new, so long as it's a model that's actually in production still.
Yeah.
But tied into that, I mean, depending on the store, it can be viewed as a good thing to support your local stores. Yeah.
And I do try and do that, because generally a local game store will have 20 to 30% off. And, generally if you're going to buy a used model or something, you're probably around that price range for the amount of models anyway. It's like 20 or 30% off. So, to have a brand new model versus like crappily painted or, poorly primed or poorly built model that you have to fix, it's like, okay, well, I can spend the extra $10 on that box, to make up for the price or the issues.
Actually, my independent store is just regular price. My independent store is MSRP.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean it varies. It varies.
I've not seen that before.
I've seen really? Okay. And I've seen local stores that are like 5-10% off also. But yeah, so but still, it's one of those things that I want that store to be there, so I'm fine paying MSRP.
Sure.
Yeah. In terms of support your local Games Workshop store, I'm not a person who particularly subscribes to that. Like, I mean, on a human level, you're helping store? Like a Warhammer store.
Sure,
like on a human level, I guess you're helping the guy who works there meet his quota.
You are the single person who is working for that company. Like, they have pretty high standards and high numbers they do have to reach. So like, it does help them keep a job, and especially if they're a good like manager at that store. They're trying to do good things. Like I'd say the one that's in Reno, where I live, like has an amazing manager that really tries to actually bring not just the Warhammer store into the fold, but all the stores together, and is easy to communicate with. And he talks to other stores, and it's how running a hobby shop should be, even from like a corporate store. So I think they got lucky on that front. Like I don't know if that's
Okay.
Obviously that's not necessarily the way every store is going to be run. The corporate shills out there and such.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of assume a baseline of B plus, the corporate employee is trying their best and has possibly been taught some annoying sales tactics, and I've definitely seen that case. Yeah. In that case, yeah. If the choices are hobby dollars to an independent store to make sure that store will still be there and thrive versus make the monthly earnings call for the employee of a major international corporation go a bit smoother, right? I'd rather give hobby bucks to the independent store. But I think if you do have a local manager who's above and beyond and who you really like, and sure, that is a fine justification if you found yourself buying new from your local branded Games Workshop store anyway. Yeah. Okay, so there's the last resort. You can't find the model without buying it new. There is the justification of a purchase of a new model supports a local store, whether that's an independent or a Games Workshop store. Casey, do you want to talk a little bit about, is a new product actually better than a used product?
Yeah, because I want to kind of branch out a little bit on that too. So, like the idea that there is new product, whether it's better or not, right? So, I brought up the Christmas boxes earlier because, generally speaking, year over year, the Games Workshop Christmas boxes are a pretty good discount. Like as far as buying the models individually, you're saving, $40, $50 basically, like a box of something else. So it's a good time to jump into something, save a little bit of cash to like buy all your paints or buy some extra supplies to paint that box. And you basically have like half of a full army in a box like that. It's like 1,000 points. So, I mean, I know it varies, I think they're going to put out the points pretty soon for the boxes that are coming out, but it's up there. And I think it's a really good way to get into the hobby. I think it's one of the better ways to get into the hobby if you're really wanting to like put some money forward and build something nice. So like I've done that most Christmases. I've gotten a box because it's like, I want to build and paint that army, and it's like most of them.
They haven't released their prices for this year's.
They haven't, no.
End of year boxes yet. Of course, by the time this goes live, maybe they have.
They probably will. By the time this
in the past, they've been maybe a little bit better relative savings than like a start collecting box or something like that. Like just with a different selection. Yeah.
Generally,
so
a different
like
selection, like twice.
If you like the stuff in the box, and you'd probably buy it eventually anyway. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I think buying new in that kind of case where you're getting some sort of discount and start collecting is also a good example of that. I know that Conquest and Kings of War does kind of the same thing. Like they're like, oh well, we're gonna package this into a deal for you. You're gonna get half of 2 armies or something that you can like split with a friend, but it's a little bit off anyway. So, that's kind of a big thing. If you do find like an army box, a starter box, you split it 50-50 with someone else, and it's like, well, then you're definitely getting a pretty good deal. And I think that's a good justification for buying new product. That being said, I've also not bought any of those army boxes from Games Workshop new ever. Technically. Okay. So if you wait, and I think it's usually like middle of December when they're like getting ready to kind of do the pre-order for those, those boxes will pop up on eBay, and they generally go for like 150 to 160 instead of like 200 MSRP.
We shall see.
Yeah, and this was historically speaking, like the last 3 years, this has been true that I've known, and I've purchased boxes because of it. So, you know, I bought the Character and Overlords and an Iron Jaws box for like $155 for these Battle Force boxes, because there are discounts on top of that for retailers that are up to 30%, I think, is the actual like markup that they're trying to get people to sell them at, and that's MSRP. So that's usually what I do. I wait, and then I do that. And if you can't find them, or if they're the same price, then fine, cool, buy them new if you can't. That's the whole availability thing, right? So I think that's kind of the only real way to buy new for me is, like, if I can't get a discount, then I'll pay the extra, but that's it. That's the line. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I do have a box of Seraphon from, I don't know, let's call it 2018. That was the army deal of Lizard Mans back at the end of that year. And yeah, not only was it the pretty good deal of the army box, but it was also on an eBay discount site, an eBay discount site. And I think I got, there was like some sweet eBay coupon going around too of eBay used to do like just take 10% off of a purchase, where like eBay would
still do, I think.
I don't know. I haven't been paying enough attention, but yeah, you work the sales, you get the deals on top of the deals, and someday I'll paint those Seraphons. Part of all of this is, you know, if you're buying for an army, maybe try to actually build and paint it before you forget about it.
That's a good call. That
might be a different episode though.
That's true. There's a lot to do with, like, I mean, because we've talked about that before, the pile of shame, pile of opportunity. Like, yeah.
Before you buy any new lizard men, maybe check your closet, see if you already got some lizard mans in there.
Make sure you don't already have that box and you forgot.
You've done that before, haven't you?
100% yes. Like, I have like 3 start collecting boxes for like Fire Slayers. Which isn't bad. I'm fine with that.
That's the perfect number. Yeah.
Right? That's literally like to build an army. There you go.
Amazing.
Get your 3 start collecting boxes. But it's like,
I forgot about any other units outside of that. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that bothers me too. That is something that I will mention. I didn't want to get into like specifics on armies, but before you go out and buy any army, look at the list for the army and make sure that there's a substantial amount of models that are at least, it's a wide enough range that you're going to feel pretty happy with the amount of variety to paint. It's going to, be fun for a while and hopefully years to come of collecting, not just for a couple months. And if the availability of those models is relevant, like a couple years ago, if you wanted to play 40K and paint a Sisters of Battle army, well, that was going to cost you some cash, like a lot of cash. Not so much anymore. But
they're in plastic now.
That's my point.
I don't think the plastic is particularly cheap.
Okay, in comparison, it used to be like a Sisters of Battle Flamer was like $25 for one.
That's true.
Yeah. So now they're like comparatively $4, $5 maybe in plastic. I'd have to look at them and find out. But I know that it's much cheaper per model than it used to be. My point is like if you're like, man, lizard men are the coolest army, and then you're like, but 90% of them are metal, or all the old models are, and that's what you can find out there. It's like, what are you gonna do? You gonna play with pewter?
There's definitely got to be some strategy in.
Right.
Is now the correct time to get into this army?
That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah. Now the correct time.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, let's talk about this. I have heard the advice of, before you start buying, make a list of, if we're talking about a 2,000 point army, ultimately make a list of your 2,000 point army, or alternatively make like 1,000 point list of a playable army and build that.
I like the 1,000 point version.
That sounds reasonable. I don't think I've ever done that. That sounds reasonable, but
Interesting.
how do you do things?
I mean, I do like to build a list just to kind of get an idea for the general cost of things as far as points. Because I do like to play like match play points, even if I'm playing for fun. Just because it feels a little bit more fair, even though it isn't necessarily. But like you do get an idea, like, okay, well, I need 3 battle line units, right? What does that mean? What does that look like? How do I acquire these like standard troop options? Well, in some cases, it's like, yeah, buy 3-star collecting boxes. You spend $150 or whatever, $225, and you got a full army. In some cases, that's not the case. Like, you have to buy for a while there, like Skaven was pretty difficult to get a hold of. And like the clan rats that you now needed like 60 of were hard to find. And then they're like, oh no, we're going to put out those boxes now. But before that, it was like, whatever, free for all. Didn't matter. You know, I had my 30 Giselles just right in a row. Didn't matter. I miss those days. Like the original OG Age of Sigmar, no points, just play for fun when it was cool. Yeah. You remember that?
Okay, buddy.
You get into that?
Okay. That's a different podcast.
Actually, it is a different podcast. That's a good topic.
I didn't actually play in those days, but
no. So I got, okay, that is a different podcast. But I got into Age of Sigmar after like 20 years, right, of not playing or painting Warhammer, and I got the Start Collecting box, and it was literally like, how do you play? Like, I don't understand. There's 4 pages of rules here. You just follow the rules. That's it. Well, what? But how many guys do I put out? And the GW's like, whatever you want. It was so confusing.
Buy more guys.
Literally, it was just like, you just do whatever you want. That's how you play the game. And it was like, I don't understand. People were like losing their minds over this. Like, no points. There's no points. I have no idea how to do this. And people were like, well, let's track it by wounds. How many wounds do you have? Like, I don't know, 30? All right, I'll put 30 out. That doesn't work. Okay. It was like, it's this whole system. Everybody's trying to come up with their own system. And like, there's all these independent systems and like tournaments trying to implement all these things. It did not work at all. And finally, the people were just like, GW, I can't do this. But it was an exciting time. Let me tell you. It was a good time. I miss those days. I really do.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. So in those days, yeah, just buy as many models as you can possibly assemble.
Essentially, it's like whatever you can afford. That's what you put on the table, because you know you're gonna win. Yeah.
So, yeah, thinking about, you know, used purchases and used purchases that actually are used. So there are pros and cons of buying a mini that's already been put together. So as a pro, you don't have to assemble it, but as a con, hope they assembled it decent.
Yeah. I'd have to say that more often than not, probably like an 80-20 split, right? I get like decently put together models. Like maybe the mold lines are still on them, but other than that, it's like they're not put together terribly. 20% of the time, it's a nightmare. Like, it's real bad. And I don't know, maybe I've grown accustomed to kind of sussing out those particular auctions. When I bought the Corn Army that I ended up fixing up, like, I knew going into that it was going to be some work. And it was. Sure. It was a lot of work. It took me like a month just to clean those models. So, yeah, that can be a bad thing. But I think it's a little more obvious when someone's trying to hide something and they post bad pictures. You kind of know. So maybe just keep an eye out for that kind of thing. Like, You know, because obviously if you're going to buy used models, you're going to be looking at like a marketplace, Craigslist, eBay specifically, I think for me. I think going to somewhere like Warpfire, Frontline Gaming has a good used store. Places like that, like I think that they're a little bit better because they're kind of like, they're buying the models, so they're spending money for the trade. Usually for like store credit. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to give you this and then we're going to know what's wrong with it. So we'll put it up and you can see it. Like they're not trying to like screw people over. It's like, no, this is busted. Here, find this for like $10, right? Like it's broken. So.
Hey, sometimes like really bad photographs can be exciting. Sometimes because you get bad surprises, but I think sometimes you get good surprises.
What do you think?
Like somebody misidentified a more valuable model, or
right?
There's yeah.
It's a metal spaceship. Turns out it was a Thunderhawk the whole time. Should have bought it.
Hey, there's mistakes get made, you know.
I wouldn't want to know if I made that mistake, but nobody ever tell me. I don't want to know.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you buy used minis, there's also the issue of a lot of times you don't get the rest of the bits from the sprue. Now, you know, maybe sometimes the seller happens to be the original owner and they chuck in a little baggie with all those extra bits into the box, and that's good. Yeah. But you may end up in a situation where, I mean, Games Workshop rations out certain bits. That, you know, sometimes the grav guns are really valuable, or the multi-meltas, heavy melta guns,
right? Yeah, those are the ones. Or historically,
I don't know.
That's one of those.
The combi.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, the combi, whatever. I don't even know. It's like $12.
That's something I missed. That's a memory from days gone by of weapon names that start with the word combi. Yeah, combi.
Yeah, combi las gun. Like, oh, yeah,
combi plasma. Yeah.
It's a combi las plasma pistol flamer. That's what this is. Like that's sweet.
Yeah, I mean, based on how you want to equip your army and actually model your characters, and based on what the gaming meta is or was, some bits become limiting reagents, become outsized value. Yeah. And I mean, I remember when I was getting into Gloomspite Gits a little while back, like it was the nets, the stupid little goblins that happened to be throwing nets. Yeah, you made a video about it.
I made a video.
Maybe this is why I even know this, is that you made a video of like custom making stupid nets for your goblins.
Yeah, exactly. Like, out of like burlap and shit. like pieces of jewelry that like clamp on the end to make the spikes. Yep, that's how we did it 4 years ago.
Yeah, so I think you buy 20 grots, and I want to say there's either 2 or 3 nets in that box of 20. Yeah. Okay, 3. And what was it? There was a rule like 1 in every 5 can have a net, or some, or maybe just as many as you wanted could have a net, or I can't remember. But for some reason, nets were good, and nobody had enough net bits.
Way overpowered. Good to have, still good to have, because it ties people up. Like, it's a whole thing.
Who knows what the rules are? You know, every couple of years the rules change, and who knows if nets are even a good thing, or if you can have more than 1 per 10. Or
I still see nets in other kits. Like, I just actually used nets from a Cruel Boys kit, and I was like, like physically upset. I was like upset that I was gluing on these nets to this other model, going, I could use these nets because I need more netters. Like,
it sucks. Really?
I do. I still need
them. We'll talk, but there were reasons that yesterday I was actually digging through my night goblins, and I actually had a little baggie with 3 nets in it. And I'm like, oh, these are like gold around here.
That is so good. Yeah, that's so good.
But my point is, if for some reason I were to sell off some night goblins, I would not just chuck those 3 nets
No.
into the box.
No,
I would
sell
keep
those
those in my
netters
bit
separate.
box because I'm like, they didn't pay for 3 nets now, did they? Like,
That's true. When I was buying Gloom Spy kits,
like Casey would buy me a beer or 2 for these 3 nets. Like, yeah.
I'd buy you more than a couple beers for 3 nets, let me tell you. Like, those nets are worth some money, man. Don't undersell those
Right.
nets.
Look, hey, when we head to Adepticon, maybe one of my cargo pockets will just be filled with high value items.
I like that. It's good.
Some combi plasmas in there. Get some netter nets in there.
You know what you should do is bring some combi whatevers. Just find those items or some nets. See, do that whole thing of like trading a paper clip for a house, right? Only it's Warhammer items.
Sure.
Can I trade a combi bolter for a net to like a limited edition model to something else to then start collecting to a whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like, how high can you go? How far can you trade that? Started with a combi bolter.
That's the thing. I don't know the meta well enough. And nets, I mean, all of this information is coming from your understanding
From a
of
while
like
ago.
first edition Age of Sigmar.
Literally.
So nets may be absolutely valueless right now. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
But that's the thing. It comes and goes, and there are going to be some bits that come with a kit that, somebody building their army, whether they knew or not what was powerful, they might just not have built any of the characters with like the one special weapon that people are actually after. That one special weapon may be in the trash at their apartment from 3 years ago, like it.
Talk about finding some combi bolters in the trash.
Yeah. So one thing about buying used minis is, 1, they could be put together kind of bad, but 2, you're missing out on some of the bits.
Yeah.
And I mean, 3, they might be on the wrong base size, depending on what army you're buying from what generation, and whether the original builder knew what they were doing.
I'm just gonna hold these up as an example by my Generation 1 Stormcast and the newest one, obviously on different size bases because I had no idea.
Yeah.
This was only a couple years ago.
That was literally you glued them onto the wrong bases because you made a mistake. Hey, people make mistakes, right?
Mistake. Well, I made a weird mistake. So, because I was literally coming off the back of 20 years not hobbying. And when I did hobby last, it was 3rd edition 40K, right? So I'm thinking, oh, these are base troops. Sweet, they go on 25s. Because that's what base troops go on, right? Goblins currently in Age of Sigmar are on 25mm bases. Not many things are, but the smallest of models are. So I grabbed the smallest bases out of the box, and I was just, sure, that makes sense. And I put a whole bunch of them on there, and then come to realize it's like, no, these are supposed to be on like 32s. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, all of my Eldar, every single Eldar model that I own is on a 25mm base. Like, all of them.
That sounds correct.
Right. So I had no idea.
Okay.
Like, literally did not even occur to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It happens.
Hey, people make mistakes, and then they sell their mistakes on eBay. So, it's just something to be aware of.
It's true.
You're looking at that blurry picture, you better be asking yourself, is that 25 or is that 32?
Or if you have a way to change it. Like, I have a bunch of bases just in a drawer, just in case. And I've, like, swapped a lot of bases because of that, specifically. The other weird thing is that sometimes base sizes do differ between game system. So like 40K Plague Bearers, for example, in the Nurgle army are on 25mm bases. Although I think that might be changed more recently, but they used to be. While in Age of Sigmar, they're on like 28s or 32s. I think it's 28s, but they're bigger. So it's a different size. So I have a combination of Plague Bearers that are on a slightly larger base and some that are on a 25. And it's like, I guess that's fine. Like, I still don't actually know the real answer.
Yeah. So
it's both.
I mean, ideally, if you're buying used, you get the high resolution photos. You go through them with a fine-toothed comb. You really get an idea of what the loadouts are on each character. You try to see if they're put together right. You try to see if they're on the right size base. Mm-hmm. But man, I still think there's a bit of fun in buying a mystery when like half of the picture is kind of blurred out. You know, like, hey, let's see what we get. And Warped Fire Minis does still sell kind of blind boxes. You say that you're building that Death Guard army, and surprise me. And
in fact, they
part
did.
of the fun
They
there.
surprised me with 20 metal plague bearers, like the old school ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're awesome, and they are in my Death Guard army.
Surprise.
And I put them on 28mm bases, even though they're supposed to be on 25s. Whatever.
That's right.
They are currently on the complete wrong size bases for 40K.
So in summary, if you're excited to build a new army, go to warpfireminis.com or wherever Google brings you when you type that in, and
should work.
you get your new minis there, you get your used minis there, and you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's true. This isn't sponsored either. I think we're just going on about this. It's like the third time we mentioned it. They did send me that
Holga Clefthoof back when she was
$70
valuable.
Or something. Yeah, and they did trade for her, so it's not for nothing.
Yeah,
it's good dudes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. As far as
little favor for a favor here, you know.
Right. That's true. I mean, it's true. I think I have stickers like on my computer and on my setup. Like you can see it like in every video, you know.
Yeah.
Like I got stickers all over the place around here. More stickers. That's what I always say. I like stickers on stuff.
Well, hey, random boxes are fun, and just because we haven't mentioned Dana Howell's Twitter account yet today, she's been opening up packs of Magic cards and having a great old time. So,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for her actually, but
new Innistrad's out, man. That's the hot new thing. It's like third version of Innistrad.
Okay,
it's good stuff. Anyways,
she likes vampires. She's having fun, but
yeah, vampires. It's third edition. Yeah.
But you get that kind of random box of used minis. What's in there? You know?
Yeah. That's true. I do enjoy that. That's fun. Obviously, that's a little more difficult way to put together an army from used models. More specifically, I like to purchase lots off of eBay, like actual lots. So those tend to be a little bit of work, because they're projects that are like half done, right? So I feel like you tend to lose a handful of models because they're kind of sort of put together, or they're missing things, and like they maybe lost the rest of the pieces. But you end up with a good amount of models for not a lot of money. Like I recently built an Ossiarch Bone Reapers army for like $150. That's 2,000 points. And that works out. Like you can get pretty far by doing that and not spending very much money if you're willing to put in the work. So, you know, if you enjoy doing something like that, then that's kind of like the bottom of the barrel, get the most bang for your buck. But you will end up doing a lot more work. Like I ended up stripping that entire army. I've stripped multiple armies doing that. And I don't always know if it's worth it. Like sometimes it feels worth it because it's not a difficult process, and you know, you're not having to sand things down or fix gaps and mold lines at the same time. Sometimes you are. So it's a little bit of a toss up, but it is kind of a fun experience to find a really good lot and like actually win it. 'Cause you don't exactly know what's coming, right? Like you'll get it, and it's like, oh man, there's like 4 more of these things and a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't pictured because they're like, oh, I got rid of this. Oh man, somebody bought this. Like I'm just gonna throw in all this extra crap because I don't want it, you know. And like for most people who play war games, it's like that's cool. I'll take your extra bits and whatever. Like
yeah,
I feel good about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. There's we got one other thing that I wanted to mention. Escalation leagues sound like fun. I've never done one, but the idea of, instead of just spending a ton of money on eBay and Facebook groups or whatever, maybe just buy a couple of units at a time and paint them up and be nice and measured and rational about it. It actually seems like a pretty good system. Casey and I, we like to think of doing massive batch paints, and so in some ways kind of scoff at that, the inefficiency of painting one unit at a time.
It's true. It's a weird, stupid feeling. Like, you're just like, that's going to take a minute. I don't want to do that. It's so stupid to think about, too. Like, because nobody paints that way. Like, really. Like, YouTube has taught us a lot of bad things. And we're the ones who are doing that. So I'm just going to go out there and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for most of
and a lot of our episodes this way of just apologizing. Yeah.
I mean,
which is appropriate. But, so we've been talking about how to just go ham and buy a lot of stuff. Like, get them deals, and then a true warrior would pounce on those deals. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to remember that.
But well, you know what's also good? Buying one box of minis and painting it, and then thinking about whether you really want that next box.
Yeah.
That's less fun, though. And we know that. We know that.
Yeah, we know that. But, to each their own, I guess. I don't know.
It's more sustainable. It's more responsible. Better outcomes in the long run, but it's not as much fun as just buying a big old box of stuff from warpfireminis.com,
Yeah.
And
that's kind of true. It's a little bit true. I mean, really what I hear you saying is that we should just be playing Total War? Is that what you're saying? Like,
that
realistically?
Would simplify a lot of things.
It would. I mean, if we just move this all digital.
If you want to stream Total War, I'm right there with you.
I mean, I feel
when
like
that game comes out, I might just be a Total War streamer. I don't even think I like most of the factions in the third edition of Total War Warhammer.
You got Vampire Counts and Kislev.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be a new map, awesome. And I'm sure there'll be some of the old factions in there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. And then the billion expansions they're going to come out with, because they're probably not going to make another one. Like Warhammer Total War 4? Yeah, at least not for a good decade, right? Like, that's going to take
20 years, yeah. 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
But,
something like that.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're going to be streaming. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Yeah, we appreciate each and every one of you, and we will teal to you later.
That's true. I almost forgot that. I hope this was helpful. I do. I really do.
We do.
That's good.
We apologize.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop you there. The cats were the stars of this one. Definitely. That was good stuff. Oh, man.